Hey guys, welcome back. In this video we're going to look at how I've actually replaced one of the light fixtures that I had in my kitchen. Unfortunately, during the holidays something tends to always break in this house, and this time is one of those light bulbs. The light fixture in question, you'll see an image popping up right now, this one has this strange circular tube light fixture which I've tried to purchase at least 2 of them from Amazon and was not able to find a replacement. So I decided to replace the whole thing with a smart version. After some digging, there was no light bulb that would have just replaced it, so no circular light bulb that I could find. The other option was to change the fixing completely, but then the ceiling holes would have been exposed. So the challenge was to find something that was of a similar shape and similar dimension. So once it was replaced, you couldn't see the previous fixings in the ceiling. So that led me down to the Philips Hue Enrave light. Enrave light. And there's also another version which is the infused version, and that version is a colored version. The one I picked up was the ambience version. I honestly picked up the first one that was going to be delivered to me. However, the difference is around £50, so the one I purchased was around £150, and the colored version is around £200. But I have to say the ambience version works really well for a sort of eating environment where perhaps you want to change the color constantly, but that's up to you. Clearly this will involve touching electrical components, so this will depend on how comfortable you are with certain operations. If you're not comfortable, then please use an electrician. Use this video just as educational for your own purpose. However, I decided to do this myself, and I'm going to tell you the process that I went through to actually get installed, how long did it take, and if I found any issues at all. First thing that you're going to need to do is carve out some time. You're going to need at least a couple of hours if you're not a good DIYer. You can do maybe 15 minutes if you know exactly what you're doing. But I would allow in your schedule, in your calendar, or mentally at least, allow a couple of hours for you to be completely undisturbed, and so you can do things calmly. So that's what approach I took. So it took me a few days to find the right time to do it. And clearly you have to do it in the daylight. So here in the UK at this time, now it's winter, and it gets dark really soon and the days are dull. So I found actually a nice and bright day, and that really helps because with light you can actually see things. Other step before taking the electricity off. So what I did is I unscrewed the actual fixing and took the old light bulb out anyway. And in that way you have the wiring exposed. And what I would do is just take a couple of photos of the wiring as is. And from what I had like a live, a neutral, and a ground. You might have different colors depending on the wiring in your country or in your home. So what I would do is just to ensure that you're comfortable again with the wiring and you know what you're doing. But if you're not, then again, leave it to a professional. So once you've taken a photo down and you've understood the diagram, and I unboxed the whole Hue ceiling light, and then I actually took the two parts apart. So I actually looked at the wiring inside and I figured out that the colors were the same. So in my example, I had the blue was neutral and the brown is the live feed, and I had a ground. Pretty clear. And also on the electric part, the connector, let's say, that you use, there was an L and an N. So those I was pretty confident that that was the correct wiring, and it was. On another note, if you do follow my channel, thanks for coming back, but you might have seen another old video about Philips Hue and data privacy concerns. If you're actually concerned about that, Philips Hue have made a couple of changes around that, so I would suggest you watch the video. I'll link it at the end of this video, or you'll find it somewhere maybe clickable here. If you are uncomfortable with using Philips Hue, I do understand why. The reason I picked it up was again because it really matched the fitting, so there was like the same dimensions of the old one. It would be a complete swap and it would look really good. So that's what I prioritize personally myself. And there are other ways to get around it with like Home Assistant, so you don't need to worry about privacy too much. Anyway, so that was set up. Then I picked up some extra fixings and a little electrical handless battery drill, just in case I needed to drill something in, or maybe to help me to screw things in. So I got basically get all prepared and all set up. I had the time ready, and then I went into action. So I turned things off, and I carefully unclipped the old fixture, and I tried to remove the old one without causing too much damage to the existing screws. Unfortunately, none of the screws actually lined up, I think. Yeah, none of them actually lined up. So I had to put a complete new fixings in. So it's just pretty simple. You take that plate off the new one, you line it up where you want. Now here in the UK, we have in ceilings, like we have the studs. I think they're called studs. Correct me if I'm wrong if they're not called that, but basically blocks of wood that go through the ceilings. So those are the best places where you can fix things. So I lined it in a way that 2 holes would fix directly in that way, and then the 3rd hole was just free, so I had to like pre-drill or use one of those anchoring screws. So I did that, secured the plate in. Obviously the cable needs to go through the plate once you put it in, and at that point you can just do the wiring. Now you'll notice that this little hook thing there, and I wasn't quite sure what that was, and you have this lot of sort of I think it's a piece of metal. Basically it's a piece of cord, a metal cord, and my interpretation of what that is for, if you look at the booklet, you'll see that you need to loop it through. And my interpretation is that needs to be that's used because in case while you're doing the wiring the piece drops, so it can, yeah, so it hooks on, so it's like a security thing, so in case that doesn't drop or fall on the floor, get damaged, or hit someone. That's what I think what it is for, but let me know. But you want to prioritize the ground, so you want to put the ground in first, and then put live and neutral. And then the most difficult part for me was just clipping it back, that round action to clip it back in. Pretty annoying. It took 5 minutes maybe, and it's an uncomfortable position to be in. It was not straightforward. I tried to actually try it on a desk. I wasn't able to clip it easily, so it's easier to do it like this rather than trying to clip it down. But try to experiment around. So when it was done, it was pretty straightforward. It all worked the first time, which is not always the case. I'm not given in my example. So try and flip the switch back up. I then tested it all. It looked good. I paired it to the app, which is very straightforward. You just click like add settings, add light, and it flashes and you add it in. So I would actually recommend this device. It works really well. The only thing is the hardware. It feels flimsy, the version I got. It looks different. The Infuse version looks actually different, but the one I got looked a bit flimsy, but on the wall looks really good. It's all white and it fits in and it fits the decor. So that was pretty important for my wife, so that's all good. And the light, I like the fact that it's ambient, and you can sort of see a difference what I had previously, which is a non-smart version. This was why the switch actually is on a on-off switch. So the switch itself was smart already, but now the bulb is smart. So to coordinate the two, you're actually going to need Home Assistant, right? So if you don't have Home Assistant is one of those things that you're going to need if you get into the smart home world, if you haven't got it already. And you can actually follow a free Home Assistant course. I've got a link in the description down below, which will get you up and running. So I'm using Home Assistant to basically ensure that even if the switch is turned off from the power switch, I can still use the remote to turn it on, right? That's an automation. If you're interested in that automation and you want to find out how I actually did that, comment down in the section down below, like this video, and just mention specifically that you will like that video. If you do, I will try and do it as soon as possible for you, and I'll upload it here on YouTube. One last thing to remember, if and when the actual light bulb does break, then clearly the whole unit needs to be replaced. So that was my biggest worry. I don't know if it's a guarantee, but there's an indication around 25,000 hours of use. So I did a quick calculation, and it feels it's going to last 4 to 5 years. So probably a light fixture lasts a lot longer than that, and a light bulb will last less. But if I'm still doing YouTube in 4 or 5 years time, which I hope I am, I will tell you if I do replace with something else and how long it did actually last. However, so far all of the Philips Hue bulbs that I purchased from 2016, 2018, are all still working. So I've got pretty good faith. I'm getting close to like 8 to 7 years on some of the oldest bulbs that I have. So pretty confident that this will also work. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one. This was Joe from Smarter Makers. More Smarter Home Automation videos over here. See you in that video. Bye.